You don't see instant action to get an ambulance. You don't see anyone even bending over in concern about Oscar Grant. If it were any of us in this room, and we were all together, and one of us shot somebody, and the rest of us stood around, and that person died sometime after that, we would be charged with murder after the fact, accessory to murder after the fact. All of us. We'd all be in jail. And in fact, even if we didn't know each other, if it was a cross-section of the people in this room, we would be portrayed as being a killer gang, even if we were of all ages and different races, because that's how that always happens. In this case, nothing has been done to the other policemen. And that, again, makes clear what the intention of this prosecutor is. Anyone trying seriously to get a conviction on Messerly would have charged every single other cop, because you would increase your chances of getting a conviction on some of them if all of them were up for trial, if for no other reason, because you'd have a greater chance of one of those cops breaking ranks and telling the truth if it meant that his or her behind might not end up in jail for life if they simply come out and talk about what really happened. That's a standard prosecutor's thing. Charge everybody. And then see who you can whittle away, who'll talk, who'll tell the truth, who'll turn over on somebody else. That hasn't been done in this case. When we go through the motion, you're going to see there's a statement of facts in it from the prosecutor that makes no sense. But it is 100% the cop's story. There's not a mention, there's not any suggestion that there's even another side to the story. Now, I'm a lawyer, so I can tell you, when a lawyer writes a statement of facts, it is your case, your view of your case, your spin on your case. It's the most favorable presentation of your side. It's not the other person's case. But when we look at this, we're going to see there's not a lot of difference between the prosecutor, what the prosecutor has written, and what the defense attorney has written. The two stories and the presentation of the facts and the way the facts are presented are almost identical. It's like the cops have two defense attorneys, and Oscar Grant, his family, his friends, have no one representing them in that courtroom. It's like, everybody's sitting on the same side of the table, and Oscar Grant, there's an empty chair where there ought to be a lawyer, there ought to be somebody defending him. In a case like this, if we can't secure the jailing of Messerly, we can't get a guilty verdict, then there's going to be a shift in the balance of power between the Black and Latino and poor white and Asian communities of the state of California and the police. And that shift in balance of power is going to mean that the police will have more power, and the communities that they are supposed to be defending and serving will be much more easily victimized by them. Because it's not a situation in which at the end of it, things are going to be as they were at the beginning of it. It's the kind of thing where if we win, and if those cops go to jail, then a message will be sent out to every policeman, every ICE officer, every law enforcement authority in the state of California that you can't get away with racist murder, that you can't do as the prosecutor is planning to do right now in this case, let a cop walk out of a courtroom and literally get away with murder. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to shift that balance of power, because to do anything less than that means that all of us who are in this room, and literally millions of people who aren't in this room, increase the chances of this happening to another person, and another person, and another person, and another person. Because if you can get away with killing somebody and have it on videotape and walk out of a courtroom, then there's not a policeman or an ICE officer in the state of California that's going to feel that they are under the slightest danger of paying any kind of price for brutalizing, in particular, young Black and Latino men. What we have to do to win is difficult. It's not easy, but it's our job to do it, because we owe it to Oscar Grant to get justice for him, because we owe it to ourselves to protect ourselves, and because we owe it to our communities to be fighting for the protection of our communities. What we have to do is three things. First, as I said, we have to make Oscar Grant a household name throughout the state of California. And there are already students at every one of the University of California campuses, at UCLA, at UC Riverside, at UC Santa Barbara, that have held demonstrations calling for justice for Oscar Grant. And in many of those places, they've already begun expanding out into the communities around them. And as those young student activists who are determined to fight for justice for Oscar Grant are spreading out throughout the community, they're meeting Brown Berets and former Black Panthers who are saying, do you know about this police killing? Because it's an outstanding killing right here in our community. And maybe you're not from Riverside or Santa Barbara or Irvine or San Diego, but we have our own history of this here. And we'll join you, and we'll popularize this campaign, and we'll fight for Oscar Grant, because all of those people who died before, there was no one building a movement to fight for them, and we can't allow this killing to go unanswered. If we can expand that movement, expand the number of people who know what's going on, we can increase our chance of winning. BAMN has a petition that we've been circulating. I urge everyone to get copies of it, to spread the word, to use the petition to make sure that people are getting the information and getting the truth on this. Second thing we've got to do, we've got to provide leadership for the people of Oakland. Because Oakland is probably the most progressive community in the United States. It's the most politically savvy community in the United States. But it's a community that needs leadership in order for it to be organized to prevent a cover-up. The leadership that it has, the mayor, the other politicians, they're not organizing Oakland to stand up and make clear that all hell will break loose if the killers of Oscar Grant get to walk free. And if that were being communicated right now to the Alameda prosecutor or to the Attorney General or to the federal prosecutor, I promise you the conduct of this case would be completely different. The third thing we have to do, besides providing that leadership and as a part of organizing Oakland, is to get the truth out about what happened. Thus far, the media has been relatively supportive of Oscar Grant's side, but that will change. And as the defense attorneys ratchet up what they're doing,